Can you believe the news today? Have you been following this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Can you believe what we are seeing this is Trump re-indicted with a superseding indictment. Do they want to just hand this election to him? Do they just want to say, here, it's yours, take it, take it, take it, it's all yours, no problem? I don't understand it. What are do these people, does this Jack Smith have any idea how things work? Did you see this today? Did you see did you see this? Can you not believe what we are seeing here? It's the most unbelievable thing I have ever seen in my life. There seems to be no indication whatsoever, no, I don't know what it is, no indication of how they are actually creating the storyline for him. This is the most incredible thing I've seen. They want to actually do this. They want to continue with this. They don't understand what happens when you keep pushing and pushing this man. Is it not unbelievable to you how this works? I am absolutely, positively just shocked, I tell you, by the lunacy. We have that. Then we have the story of Mark Zuckerberg, for reasons I don't understand, admitting, oh, by the way, I demoted the news. Basically, he admits that he was a tool, an apparatchik, an accomplice of the radical left, of the woke, broken shadow government. And then we have the Telegram founder arrested. And this is hard to get Americans to really understand this one, because they had a hard enough time understanding the significance of Julian Assange. Try explaining this to Americans, and it's a complete and total waste of time. I don't even know where to start. And then we have the rule that I think, ultimately, the one and only debate, whatever you want to call it, is going to go off without a hitch, which blows my mind. And then, then we have this week, is it this week? Kamala and Tampon Timmy are going to sit down with CNN for this absolute nothing of an interview. And then, oh wait, there's more, as we say on QVC, there's more. Then New York Times is turning. The New York Times is turning on them and basically saying that this is it right here. The honeymoon's over. This is the most incredible story. The New York Times turns on Kamala as the liberal newspaper runs a string of brutal op-eds slamming Harris as weak, a phony, and ignorant. Is her brat summer finally over? It is nothing but. So the only thing they have available, the only thing that they possibly have is, of course, to the election. This is the best news possible. So, my dear friends, stand by for 1 second. Stand by for 1 second as we remind you of a few things. First, The reaction this time, and this is also it's weird for a variety of reasons. The reaction so far to my Patriot Supply, to preparewithlionel.com, has been through the roof. That means people are scared. That means people are saying, oh my, oh my. People are recognizing the fact that with all of the various items that you must have at your disposal to live and to survive, ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters in truth, emergency food, that's it. And this is the best deal ever. A mega 3-month emergency food kit. Now you can save $300. This is it. Go to preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. And while you're there, you just go and look and see. It is absolute genius. And lest you think this is only for the, quote, black helicopter crowd, weather, calamity, supply chains, strikes, aliens, whatever. It takes the slightest little hiccup, to destroy the food and delivery chain. That's all I'm saying, dear friends. Preparewithlionel.com. It is brilliant. Nothing to sell, nothing to push. If you're smart, and believe me, you've got to be smart because you're here, you will enjoy this. You got that? Preparewithlionel.com. While we're at it, the feller that has been our pal since the beginning, and they never talk about this. I love the idea. MyPillow.com is great. Mrs. L mentioned the bolsters. We are a MyPillow family, but I love that man. I love that man. And I love his fortitude. And I love his intrepidity. And I love his products. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. Always use promo code Lionel because we've been with him and he's been with us, and we are very loyal. That's one thing we are. Preparewithlionel.com and MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. All right? Also this week, Mrs. L and I are going to be seeing Reagan. The first time I get the chance to see it, I don't care if it comes to the, I want to see it. If you told me 10 years ago that I would be the way I am now, I'd say, you're out of your mind. My friends, I have not changed. Reality has changed. Reality has changed. The world is changing. It is like nothing else. Things are so fast. When I first ran into Tulsi Gabbard, I thought, okay, it was all right. She was good. You know, the whole Yvonne DiCarlo look, oh, it's okay. Yeah. And now I love her. I think she is the greatest thing. Why? Because the times change. Key in essence, thank you and welcome. Thank you. Because the times have changed. Vivek Ramaswamy. Interesting. Like to see the stories about Vivek and JD's wife. I don't know. What do I care? In any event. Vivek. I thought, okay. Now I love him. I need him. We need him because the world has changed drastically. Tucker Carlson. Everybody. Bannon. Go down the Elon. Bobby Kennedy. Bring them on. Do you feel this change? Do you see what's happening? Why is Zuckerberg all of a sudden admitting to the world, they made me lie? Now, of course, does he have any immunity from having testified before Congress that, oh, nobody ever told me to do that. Nobody ever told me how to do it. Nobody ever. Why do you think he's changed? Because he recognizes the truth. He sees what's going on. And you don't know the behind the scenes looks, the behind the scene discussion. Elon Musk. When I first heard him, okay, he did it. All right, Tesla. Okay. Now he has been the singular most important member of our immediate reality. Ladies and gentlemen, everything has changed drastically. And I want you to understand something. Join with me. I've never been, were it not for the fact that my republic is under attack right now, I don't know if I necessarily would have been that crazy about these folks in the first place. I mean, they're okay. But I never felt this connection like I do now. I never felt it. What's happening with Durov, and remember something, if you're an American, and you are prone to and only amenable to and susceptible to Fox News and the like, you don't know anything. With all due respect, you don't know anything. We have to stop and tell you what's going on here to remind you. The other day, do you remember the other day when I started laying it on thick about how I worried about absentee mail-in and write-in ballots, not votes, ballots? Do you remember that the other day? All of a sudden you say, wait a minute, why is he saying about this? And I kept saying, this is the way it is. And I said, this is the way it's going to happen. It's going to happen like this. And I called up my friend Mark Simone show the other day. I said, it's going to happen like this. And then all of a sudden, guess what we're seeing in the news today? More and more voter rolls being purged, and not necessarily poll watchers. I don't care about the poll watchers. Do you see what happened? Did you see that? Why do you think that's happening now? Why now? Ask yourself, why? Do I know something people don't know? Yes. Now, next. For the longest time, Uncle Lenny's been talking about geoengineering to the point where I've lost friends. They thought I was crazy. I remember one time talking to actual meteorologists and TV meteorologists, the worst of the worst. I don't even know if you're going to need these people anymore. They're a vestige, just like the farm reports. I mean, they had their who needs somebody to break down Doppler? I understand rain. And for the longest time, I told people, I said, they're spraying something. Oh, God. I said, just look. And they fought me. That's just condensation. That's not water vapor. No, that's contrails from the plane. No, they last a couple of minutes. And I said it. And if you know me, over and over and over. Talked to Dane Wigington before it was cool. And I thought, I'm not giving this up. This to me is this makes the most sense. Then all of a sudden, I noticed something. This was a while back. They started talking about geoengineering. And that's why I said, don't call it chemtrails, call it geoengineering. They're talking about it, but they're calling it something else. Stratospheric solar radiation management, SRM. They're calling it carbon dioxide removal, the dimming. Okay. Bobby Kennedy, he's talking about that. Oh my God. I'm thinking I'm now 2 for 2. And what happened was, going back to the ballots, they wanted to call you crazy because they wanted to throw you into the Giuliani, Sidney Powell, all these lunatics who were talking about, not lunatics, as they called them. servers in Venezuela and server. It was more like they were basically going after Dominion and those folks. I'm not even talking about that. This is a different story. Linda Haslett says, we are all spiritual gangsters. Trump has a great team. Oh, he does. And it's getting better, Linda. It's getting better. So that's changing. And then today, this Smith, he went, there's a superseding indictment. Do you know what the reaction today was? You're kidding me. What are you doing? Well, we had to file the superseding indictment to clarify after the Supreme Court spoke about immunity. Excuse me, what are you doing? Well, no, I told you. No, schmuck. Every time you do this, the poll numbers go up. What are you doing? If he's shot at, if he's indicted, if he's arrested, if he's found guilty, whenever you do anything to this man, the juridical gravity of the world of Trump is inverted. Do you not understand that? What is the matter with you? Soul 76 Can says RFK Jr. just announced the Trump Unity administration would stop chemtrails, responding to a post on X declared, we are going to stop this crime. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I spoke about this morning. Absolutely. Where have you been, Bobby? Better late than never. Call Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org. Call him. He has all the information for you. All the information. It's been there forever. It's been there forever. And it's one of those things where once you notice it and once you're aware of it, you feel like, what an idiot I've been not having known this. Now we're talking about, is Bobby Kennedy going to be off? We want him off the ballots in swing states. I hope that is correct. He says he will be. I hope he is off the ballot, because I believe, and I think that anybody voting for Bobby Kennedy now, knowing he's withdrawn, I don't understand this. Do you see what's happening? Bobby Kennedy came along and the longest time talked about everything that you wanted to talk about. Whether it's inoculations, whether it's autism, he wanted to discuss what everybody has been wondering about since the beginning of time. And once they call him crazy, once they call him, and this is important, once they call him conspiracy theorist, it doesn't matter. We're going after, let me go back to this Durov fellow. How can you go after Telegram if Telegram is doing what? Now, I'm going to tell you something right now, and I want you to listen to me very carefully. Child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, is what Mrs. L and I have been talking about. She in particular have railed against this. Do you believe, this is important, do you believe that a platform should be held responsible for what other people put on the platform? Are we now going to go after Apple phones for providing the phones that allow Telegram to go? Most of the people who use Telegram use a mobile phone. Most people who use Telegram use a phone. Are you going to go after the phone next? I'm old enough to remember prosecuting obscene telephone calls. So help me God. Nobody's ever done that. This was ancient. We never went after the phone company. Doesn't that make sense? Don't you have a better way? Well, they had no technology. Nobody went after the post office when they were mailing things that they knew was One time, Hugh Hefner was charged with federal crime for sending Playboy. They thought Playboy was obscene. Why didn't they go after the post office? The federal government is aiding and abetting that what you're saying is obscene. My friends, I want you to understand something. I want you to imagine there's a very cluttered table. And that table represents your world. What you think, what you do, what you believe. And I want you just to clear it off. Like just pull the table cloth or whatever and just destroy everything. Reset everything. It's a new world. Left and right, up and down, Democrat, Republican. I don't know who these people are. We're black people and white people are shaking hands. Gay people, Asian people, Latinos are coming forward and saying, what is this? We all want the same thing, common sense. I swear to you, we know more. I don't know what kind of a sampling is, but I bet you we know more gay people than you do. I'll bet you we do. We don't even think anything of it. Mrs. L in particular, she's been in show business for her whole life. Broadway and all of them are for Trump because they recognize the insanity of this woman. This woman is not left. Do you hear what I'm saying? Rejoice, ladies and gentlemen, rejoice what I'm saying. Rejoice. Understand this. Recognize this absolute beauteousness. Understand and please feel free. Please understand how this works. This is the most important thing in the world. I can't tell you. Things could not possibly be better than they are now. What you're seeing is I've never seen anything like it. There was a time in the 80s. I think it was, maybe early 80s, when the moral majority came along. And all of a sudden they said, who were these people? Republicans weren't necessarily connected to the moral majority, to televangelists and the like. They weren't, but they are now. Do you see what's happening? This is like nothing. The New York Times is coming after her. They're mocking her. And Trump is talking to everybody. People that I normally, when he's on with Theo Von had on Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. These people are basically saying to his audience, Trump is cool. Trump is cool. There's one thing about Bernie Sanders. You may disagree with me. But what I respect about him is he's legit. You may disagree with him, but he's not saying this just to say whatever. Kamala doesn't believe anything. Look at this. Look at this. Dan says, I got an absentee ballot in the mail. I never asked for one. So it starts. Now that's interesting. Dan, is it a house? Is it a building? Do other people get, if you got that, that's a different story. Was it marked correctly? Did it have your name on it correctly? Is that the correct address? Did you ever vote before? See, the problem with these, and Lara Trump and others aren't understanding this. It's the auditing that I want. I want people to be able to say, I want people to be able to understand that when you take this, if I were to hand you, let's say the Virginia voter rolls or the absentee rolls, all of these people, I wanted to run through, take every address, cross-reference it to property taxes. What kind of house building is this? Throw in Google Maps, Google Images so you can see right away. See if there are replications. You should not have 10 people on one address. Crypto Domini is a new member, and it's about time. Damn it. Love you, bro. Literally. Literally. How many of these numbers are repeated? Are they homes? Are they domiciles? Who are these? Now we'll go for the names. Do the names work? If the name Demetrius A. Splitkin III does not exist anywhere in the voter rolls, the tax rolls, the population rolls of Virginia, why is this person all of a sudden voting when he doesn't exist? He doesn't drive a car. He doesn't have a license, doesn't have an ID. This requires massive, monster, very easily done computer to be checking and double checking. Why should Demetrius A. Splitkin III, who lives at 123 Main Street in Roanoke, Virginia, along with 25 other people, why does he only exist in this form? Nowhere, no place else. You need to if his name does not exist, if they're get rid of him. That means get rid of him and don't mail it. When you get rid of him, he's not mailed. You dig? Or if for some reason that number, that code, I don't know how this actually works out, but when you scan it, if that barcode for him says this guy's no good, throws it out. That's what I'm talking about. That's done in the back. That's not done in the front. You need 7 states. You need 15 counties or so. It's not a lot. It's very simple. Look at this. Dan says, my wife's son moved out 5 years ago. Isn't that something? The stories that we'll hear addressed correctly, Dan says, which is very good. We're going to learn this. Only 2 live at home. Interesting. House, all 3 of us. Did all 3 of you, when you say house, all 3 of us did? Does that mean that all 3 got an absentee vote? Let me also tell you something tonight, my friends. Let me also tell you something. Crypto Domini says, had to use the MacBook, not the iPhone. I shared the short clip of your ballot concern from yesterday. Thanks so much. Lionel Nation. Thank you, sir. Let people see it. It's just a question I have. And please come forward and say, no, that's not the way it's done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't want this to be the way it's done. I don't want this to be the way it's done. I don't want that. See, if I had a movie, if I had a movie, my movie would be like this. There's a guy who works at let's say in a place, we have this not too far from us, is a Radio City station. Remember that? Anybody from my generation? Box 205, Radio City station. That's all. So all the game shows were at Radio City, 52nd Street, still there. And let's say one day there's a guy who's a real active person. Let's just assume there's a station like that someplace else. And he's a real lefty, or it could be a righty, whatever you want to go. And he wondered one day, and all of a sudden he sees in those, those boxes, those kind of like, they look like a beer, like a case of beer cut down. Donald Ellsworth says, in Wisconsin, you have to have a DL. I hope so. Well, that's okay. And thank you, Donald. But let's assume that one day some guy's working there and he's a real lefty. He's a Kamala fan. And lo and behold, he sees one of those looks like a case, beer case, just filled with white, beautiful absentee straight from the Secretary of State. There they are, ready to go out, ready to be mailed out to each of these people. Some legit, some not, but ready to go out. Let's say in my crazy movie, he takes them all. sets them aside, and then decides either to turn them over to somebody else or sell them or one day just fill them out himself. I don't know if he's gonna need all the stamps for this. I don't know if it's a return. They probably are return postage paid, I would imagine. I don't think they're gonna make people pay to vote, but assuming they're postage paid. What if he just fills out? And he takes all of those correctly, though they were going to go out, all of them addressed to real people at real addresses, but he takes them and he fills them out. And then somebody says, "Hey, I didn't get mine." Maybe they call in, maybe they don't, maybe they forget, I don't know. Maybe somebody's going to have to call. I don't know how this is done. What if somebody happens to have one of these places that it's basically an abandoned building, and lo and behold, he just collects the mail. Mail comes, and look at all we've got 100. I don't know how they're there. These aggregators, or you have somebody who goes to an apartment building, but they're all listed, but no addresses, no apartment numbers. So what do? They're unclaimed, undelivered. They go back. It's all you need. And nobody's going to be sitting there. They're going to just see all this stuff come in. And I don't know. You want to be able to say for each state, oh, that's not going to happen. We've taken care of that. Oh, absolutely not. How would you do that? Give me a way to figure out how to get to the bottom of something. But aside from that, we're talking about it. We're talking about chemtrails. We're talking about food. We're talking about seed oils. We're talking about people who are reaching out, who are saying, Donald Trump is cool. Donald Trump is on this show. Donald Trump he's good. I like him. Tucker likes him. A lot of people like him. Tulsi Gabbard, this is her moment. This is her moment. And meanwhile, Kamala's doing nothing. Nothing. And the very fact, dear friend, that all of a sudden, here's Zuckerberg admitting that he was a part of this. You understand what this means? Why is he doing that now? Is there a chance of him? Could there be a palace coup in a sense? A coup of the big tech folks? What if, hear me out, what if they got a hold of Durov, they not so much Assange, but they didn't like that. But you don't think that oh God, you don't think that Elon picks up the phone and talks to Zuckerberg and say, "What do you think about this?" Have you talked to other people? Yeah. Have you talked to the WhatsApp guy? Have you talked to the Rumble guy? Have you talked to you? I don't know if we like this. What if all these people secretly are meeting and said, we started off kind of enjoying the fact that we were a part of this frontier world, when Silicon Valley was this really great place where open-minded dreamers and searchers and pioneers were going to do things to change. Remember that? Remember that when Google don't hurt, and they started off and they were into this. Nothing but help, and then all of a sudden, here comes government. Kevin says, I hope Lara Trump is putting in the legwork now, because 2020 showed us courts won't touch election irregularities after the ballots are cast. But it depends, Kevin, to be fair, sometimes the courts are going to say, what do you want us to do? We're not here to clean up your mess. We're here to litigate claims of a mess. What if the white hats had a revolution? What if all of a sudden people said, Zuckerberg, you with me? I'm with you, Elon. Get so-and-so on the phone. Get whatever. Who is the ex-wife of the founder of Google? Who is that? That's Bobby's old running mate. Get her on the phone. What if all of a sudden government said, we have a coup here, we got a problem? The people that we scared, the people that we had do our dirty work, especially during moments of mayhem, as you can imagine, they're flipping on us now. They're not taking our calls. We're telling them. Zuckerberg came out and admitted, hey, I did this. I did this. Why did he do this? Do you follow what I'm saying? Why? Why? Somebody said just now, the Rumble people are Canadian. I don't think they could do much. What does that mean? They can't do much, or people can't do much to them? I don't understand. I live in a world, my friend, where I believe that everything should be open for you to see. If you don't like it, if somebody is giving misinformation or disinformation, it is up to me to say they don't know what they're talking about. I don't need Snopes and PolitiFact and all these others and Wikipedia and all these CIA intel-based groups to try to shift and change. It doesn't work like that anymore. This is a revolution. And all we want to do is just speak the truth. And you know what? If there's anything to it, it'll work. Because the moment you tell somebody you cannot allow misinformation, then you're also allowing somebody to determine what misinformation is or disinformation. We have to ask ourselves, what do we stand for? What is this about? What are we going to do? Do we just sit back and just say, oh, that's the way it goes? That's the way it goes. I don't understand this. And I still can't believe Fox News never fought at all. They never said, wait a minute, we didn't do this. We might have been negligent here, or somebody could have said something, but you're going to earn this $750 million. They didn't do that. Donald Ellsworth said they have no choice. It's almost foolproof in Wisconsin. They're extremely secure. My daughter lives in Arizona or Arkansas or whatever it is. They give you receipt of who you voted for. Okay. But Donald, that tells you what you did. How do I know what's going elsewhere? How do I know? Who verifies this? Who goes back and says, you have on your voter rolls 10,000 people who don't exist? There's not going to be any receipt. Nobody's going to get a receipt because those people don't exist. How do you know who exists and who's not? Who does it? You just assume it. You just say, well, I don't know. These are the questions that we have to demand people. See, this is the thing. Whenever they say that something happened, let me give you an example. If somebody were to say, today a plane crashed and 80 people were killed, let's assume that. How do you know that? Well, because they said this. How do you know who those people were? How do you know they don't exist anymore? Have you heard anybody, any family members who said, yeah, that was my brother? Sometimes you don't. You just don't. You just assume. I'm not saying it's not happening, but you'd be surprised how many things you don't follow up on. You think you know that. Well, I guess that's true. But how do you know? You remember Operation Northwoods, right? Greatest story ever. It didn't work. It did work. They were going to go through with it, though. Most incredible story ever. And they found it. And Bobby Kennedy and the Kennedys said, oh, no. We're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're not going to get away with that one. We're not going to let you do that one. Sorry. But it's a great idea. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. This was during the time of Cuba and Castro. And they were going to have a plane take off from Miami Miami. And it was going to be a school, it was going to be a soccer team or something. And this plane takes off and they wave, and everybody on it were spooks. Nobody knew who these people were. They didn't film them getting on and people waving goodbye. People get on planes all the time. They get on. Anyway, this plane took off. And the story was they were going to take off and land in Eglin Air Force Base. Go from Miami International to Eglin, Jacksonville, fly the wrong direction. And then they were going to take a drone and they were going to paint it with all of the markings of an American Airlines or whatever it was. And they were going to fly this drone a little in a particular airspace that wasn't too far, but they were going to detonate it and blame Cuba and say Cuba shot it down. But it was a drone. But no, and they would have said that would have been it. And there we're going to go in. And that's our pretext. This is a Joint Chiefs of Staff, Lindsay, whatever. I can see he had a very unique handwriting. And they said, oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. It never happened. Operation Northwood. It was brilliant. And it made me always think, how do you know anything? How do you know these things? How do you know what you know? You know, we have these things all the time, and I know there's these folks. There's a friend of mine right now who's watching, and I'm not going to call his name up, but I'm telling you right now, he may not know where his keys are. He may not even know his middle name, but he believes more than anything, that on that particular day in July of 1969, a certain space event never happened. And none of them after. And he will look you in the eye. He's a very smart man. He's a brilliant man. And he will tell you, like you believe in, being alive, he believes that. Nelson A says, the social media folks like hit face Zuckerberg, and others know Mr. Trump will, and he will go after or they fear higher taxes, 21% corporate now tax, who knows what under Kamala. Wow. Let me read this again. The social media folks like faced Zuckerberg, and others know Mr. Trump will win and he will go after or they fear higher taxes, 21% corporate now tax to who knows what under Kamala. Interesting. You made me work for that, but thank you. I understand what you're saying. I don't even know if it's that simple. I don't even know if that's it. Mr. Crypto said, and they had troops on the ground ready to go. Oh, yes, they did. Eternal Recursion says, in Maryland, a statewide citizen survey proved there were 70,000 invalid ballots cast and counted in 2020, confirmed by state BOE. State judge refused to hear a lawsuit due to lack of standing. Could be. I don't know the reason. There's standing, ripeness. There's all kinds of stuff. Remember, though, here is the issue, and I thank you for that. Here is the issue. If people do not feel a fire in their belly because of it, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. If people do not feel, again, this overwhelming passion to get to the bottom of things, nothing will happen. Americans don't feel this passion. They don't scream and demand that an answer be determined or configured or answered. They don't say anything. They don't know anything. They don't do anything. And it takes right now so little to get things changed. You see what I'm saying? Does that make any sense to you? You see what I'm trying to say? Dan Modry says, what if your ballot is in the mail, but you die before the election? If it's in the mail, mean you've executed it, or it's in the mail to you before you die? The answer would be, if you ever elect, if you voted while you were alive, that's all that matters. In 1980 something, I don't know what it was, Mel Carnahan, I think his name was Carnahan, was running for the Senate, of Senate of Missouri. Mel Carnahan died. He was against John Ashcroft. John Ashcroft says, I've got it. The governor of Missouri said, listen, we can't get Mel off the ballot, but if you vote for Mel, I'm going to appoint his wife. They said, okay. Mel Carnahan won. A dead guy. It happened. Always think about this. How do things work? I told you I love magic tricks. And there's this one, I love these Indian fellers are so good. They show you this, the magic and all this stuff. And they'll show you how to bend a finger back or how to tape. The answers are so simple. They're so simple. That's the beautiful part. That's what I love. I love when somebody shows me, how do you do this? That's the issue. State legislature refuses to address the issue of invalid ballots in Maryland. The Democratic machine has ruled since 1850. Thank you, Eternal. That's the way that goes. But you see, if nobody's going crazy pushing it, nothing's going to happen. Here's one for you. Listen to this. You do know that right now, you don't have to have an easy, I don't know what you call them where you live, but where we live, they call them an easy pass. Easy pass is when you go through and you go to the Lincoln Tunnel or the Holland Tunnel or any of the bridges or whatever it is. You have this little easy pass, right? You go through it. You don't need an easy pass. They take a picture of your license tag, and they've got cameras and lights. They've got all these things. In fact, we have these cameras all over the city of New York that were lined up, ready to go for this congestion pricing that they were going to use, which they decided against it for reasons I don't know. But guess what they did? They kept the cameras up. So they're constantly taking pictures of who's milling about. Constantly. So what did they do? Somebody said, let's have ways to affect and to change your license tag by having these covers that obscure, they become muted and mottled, and that's one way of doing it. Or people will add a number, or they'll have actual, like James Bond kind of, where they'll change the thing. It's the simplest thing in the world. If you're going to be basically charging people based upon a tag, I'm going to figure a way how to screw the tag up or how to make it unable to be read or something. It just makes sense. There's nothing, deep about this. It takes somebody to figure out how this thing works. During the 80s, I used to call my friend. He was at the university, and I would call his dorm room, and I would call collect, and he would pick up this payphone, and he would know when I would call, and he would take the call, and they would say, "Do you accept the charges?" I do, and it was a payphone. Now, why they didn't know this? This is before digital anything. I remember when they first came up with a digital phone. I said, "What is this? What are these numbers at the bottom? What is this asterisk and pound? This octothorpe?" Well, somebody figured it out. It was very, very simple. We used to have a Jesuit high school. There was a phone where all they had it had very loose. We had a very loose, um, not a cradle or whatever you call this thing, and you could dial out, click the numbers, and we were very good at this. You could. We just thought it was we're saving a dime, but we figured it out. We love to figure things out, and it's always the simplest thing. Remember in the old days? Anybody remember where you would send a letter to somebody and you would put the address of the person that you're sending this to as the return address? And then either you would leave off the stamp or not put enough, and they would return it to the sender. But the sender was the addressee. And it was like simple. And they got around that. Every time somebody does something, every time somebody figures out whether it's cheating in casinos, cheating, there's a way around it. It's simple. And the thing you need more than anything else is for somebody not to care. I knew a friend of mine one time who owned a pizza. I think it was Domino's. He had a bunch of Domino's he owned. And he said, you know what? He said, I don't go after, if they steal up to X amount, I don't worry about it. So they can steal a couple bucks here and there. I just don't have time. I don't care. And the people knew they could steal up to this amount. After that, they would be found out and, fired or whatever. The people who run the elections know we don't care about this. And they also used everybody, Fox, CNN, and they said, we're going to call these people. Anytime somebody comes along and says, hey, we think you're cheating. You're an election denier. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a nut. Hey, I'm not sure if this injection is good. You don't trust the science. You're a crazy kook. You're a nut. See how that works? And people say, oh, this is fun. Who else is a nut? Well, in the old days, you would say, you're just some right wing. They use this term, it's a right wing. And it takes people to sit there and say, call me what you want. But while you're calling me a name, do me a favor. Tell me, Mr. Secretary of State, to answer my question. How do you know whether each of these addresses is actually assigned to a dwelling of a resident of your state who lives there? Do you ever cross over anything? Call me what you want, but answer my question. If all of a sudden that got to be like, hey, I got a better one for you. You know how I'd fix this in a heartbeat? You know how I'd fix this? It's really simple. Think about it. How do I get people involved in this? How do I get to the bottom of this? How do I do it? What do I do? Have you ever heard of something called qui tam legislation? Qui tam legislation. It's a lawsuit based on an ancient writ which allows private person known as the qui tam relator to prosecute a lawsuit for the government and receive an award. And it means qui tam who as well. The phrase qui tam means who as well. And it means refer to English lawsuits where a person sued on behalf of the king as well as for himself. So what they do is, you've heard qui tam, a whistleblower legislation. I know friends of mine who made a fortune doing this. You work for the Secretary of State. You work for the Defense Department. You work for the Department of Commerce. You're aware of millions and $1 billion of fraud or whatever it is. You bring a lawsuit on behalf of qui tam, and you get a percentage of what you save, of what you. If I said, attention, any of you folks working in the Supervisor of Elections Office, Secretary of State, anything like that, if you can figure out, we'll do straight bounty, how many either ballots or whatever you can bring a lawsuit. We will compensate you for that. You're almost like a headhunter. You're a bounty hunter. Like that. Why aren't they doing that? Gee, I don't know. I don't know. Is it that they don't want this fixed? Exactly. Exactly. Why is it that we vote only during the day? Why don't we vote on the weekends? Why do we make voting so hard on a Tuesday? Why do we vote on a Tuesday? I don't understand this. Why don't we vote on a Tuesday? Every other form of everything, they have voter rolls, and granted, it's much smaller. For the Academy Awards is billions. You figure a way how to screw the Academy Awards, and you are golden. They have no problem with all of this. Nobody seems to care about this. Why? Because America's complacent. We sit back and we say, oh, that's interesting. We don't care about what's going on. We're not going to fix anything. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, huh. How about that? That's pretty interesting. Wow. That's it. Because America doesn't have any PO'd level. We don't get upset. See, we don't get angry. We don't care. Nothing concerns us. That's the problem. To get people from this lethargy and this torpor, to get them motivated. See, that's the thing. And the people who are upset, we are. Clapton says, Lara discovers voter fraud, then what? Liberal judges or his attorney general going to do anything about it? Well, voter fraud is one thing. She says we're going to have people in the actual voting precincts. Well, what are you going to notice? Crypto says, pay me, I'll do it, and we should vote every day. Well, you know what? I like that. But your question is simply this. I don't know. Her job, I don't know what they're paying her. I don't think she's being co-chair for nothing. Trumps don't work for free. How much is she being paid? How much is Charlie Kirk being paid? I'll take it. I'll say, I put my people out there. We train people. I paid $10 million I took in. I get $8 million, and I'll put $2 million into training and the box lunch and the travel. But I get I'm just saying. I don't know. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Let me ask you something. What would you do? Listen to what I'm saying. If you really want to know the answer, number one, you make people sue so that they can make money. Soul 76 Can says, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I'm just a cold-blooded investigator that gets to the bottom of things. Absolutely. Well, here what I would do. I would make Quitom, and thank you for this, Quitom, and I would say, I want to talk to somebody who used to do it. Show me how you used to do it. I told you before, when you open up a bar, you have these people that come up and they pretend they watch your bartender, and they tell you, I'll tell you who's stealing. This guy is this guy. He went to the till. He didn't ring it up. He brought their own. I used to hear this all the time. In bars, some people bring their own bottle. They bring their own bottle so that they'd be pouring. And then at the end of the night, they put their other bar thing back and they're making all the money. And sometimes they have that little device where you put that machine in it and it measures, but they don't do that a lot of times. So many ways to steal. So many, buybacks and all that kind of jazz. The point is, you get somebody who does it, and you say, "All right, come in, and I want you to see how can you screw me over? Simple. Tell me how. Oh, absentee votes. Here's how you do it. Boom, boom, boom. They know the answer. There's nothing new to this. You don't see what you're missing. Maybe you're not missing. There's nothing new to this. They're not scratching their head. They know every trick in the book. But they're saying, if you uncover what we use to maintain our position, you'll never work again in your life. So pretend, look the other way, and give me plausible deniability. That's all. It's that simple. I hope it becomes cool again to get to the bottom of this. We always love these Ocean's 11. and it takes a thief. And we always love these people that come in and they show you how they work, the behind the scenes and the frauds. Catch Me If You Can, Frank Abagnale. I read that book years ago. I loved it. How he used to do checks and he's a forger, and we love this stuff. The great imposter. But when it comes to our most important and incredible system in the world, namely voting, nobody cares about it. You got it? All right, dear friends. Listen, sit tight. Things are looking good. Things are looking excellent. Soul 76 can. Thank you so much. Crypto Dominique Clapton. Eternal Recursion. David Mudry. Thank you so much. Nelson A. Donald Ellsworth. Kevin. Crypto, of course, you love you. Soul 76. Linda Hazlitt. Thank you. Your insights were terrific. And remember, they are scared right now. Don't think for a moment they're not. They are scared. I love it. Don't forget, follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Do it right now for me. Lynn's Warriors. Go to her YouTube channel and sign up. Also on X or Twitter, Lynn's Warriors as well. And if you enjoy me on Twitter, I'm at Lionel Media. It's a little different, but it's great. Works great. Either way. We pump this out all day long. I love the truth. I've got friends of mine who are sitting around and they're retired and they just sit around getting fat and do nothing. I love this. I have never felt more alive in my life than now. I have never felt. I've got all these people, friends of mine who were, their radio stations shut down or they were fired up. Say, do this. You'll be able to make more of an impact. You'll make people, you'll invigorate, you'll inspire people. It's the greatest thing in the world. Do this. And they look at me like, this is the great, I love this. And you should love it too, because together we are not, that's it. We got better things to do, but we love this because we love the truth and we love to know we're winning. And I'm telling you this time, barring the absolute obvious theft, we're going to kick their ass this time. I feel it. I'm seeing it. You got to know where to look. Look what the New York Times is. They're setting people up. There are people who are furious with Kamala, furious with her. All right, enough said. My friends, you have a great and a glorious night. God bless you. See you tomorrow at 8 a.m. And until then, remember, my friends, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dad.